Carol says, I don't just want to kill Alpha, I want to hurt her. I don't think anything would hurt Alpha as much as losing Lydia. So I think what Carol is really saying is, I want to do something to hurt Alpha before I kill her. And the only thing that would really hurt Alpha is for her to lose Lydia. That means that she's going to hurt Lydia to hurt Alpha. Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 10 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a new theory circling around regarding Lydia and her story in the second half of Season 10. The theory is that Lydia will die, and it's going to be none other than Alpha, her mother, who's going to end up having to kill her. Now, this theory obviously seems extremely out of the blue and extremely kind of random, but there are some hints pointing towards that. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to let you know my thoughts and opinions about whether I think it will actually happen or not. So what are the clues that this might be what we might see? The first clue is this portrait shot of Alpha, which was in one of the key arts. We had Alpha, she was screaming, and there was a tear coming down from her eyes. Now, the tear coming down from her eyes could be a symbol of many things. It could be an indicator of several things. It could indicate that she no longer has power. It could be an indication that she's gonna die. It could be an indication that someone's gonna betray her. It might be an indication, though, that she loses someone extremely close to her. I think that is one that makes the most sense. Now, the only people in Alpha's life who she might cry over if she loses them is Lydia. We've seen her cry over Lydia leaving. We've seen her cry over the fact that she might never see her again. So we know that she does have that close connection to Lydia, even though she might not show it. So that's important. Now, I don't see personally any other person who Alpha might cry over in any circumstance. I don't even think she would cry over Beta, even Beta dying or something like that. But I do see her crying over Lydia dying. Now, we're not necessarily talking about her killing Lydia just yet, but knowing that Lydia is dead alone could definitely put Alpha in a mental stage where she might not have control over herself anymore. Hence the symbolism behind the key art. Now, the next clue that we have is something that was in one of the recent teasers. In one of the recent teasers for the second half, we have Carol and Daryl. They're in the cave, they're trapped, they're sitting down and they're talking. Carol says, I don't just want to kill Alpha, I want to hurt her. That's interesting and important because I don't think anything would hurt Alpha as much as losing Lydia. So I think what Carol is really saying is, I want to do something to hurt Alpha before I kill her. And like I kind of mentioned before, the only thing that would really hurt Alpha is for her to lose Lydia, or for her to not only lose her power, but also be embarrassed in front of the Whispers, and for the Whispers to kind of see who Alpha really is and how weak she really is. Now, that could also tie into the Lydia situation, and, Carol could expose who Alpha really is by bringing Lydia into the picture and making the other Whisperers see what's going on. So that could also kind of come into play as well. Now, the other thing that Carol could have meant by that is she could hurt Lydia or do something that might make Alpha think that Carol has hurt Lydia. That way, Carol would have hurt Alpha before killing her. Now, we don't know whether she's going to get a chance to do that, but that's a different conversation. Now, the other possibility is that Carol could be really saying, I want to hurt Alpha. And that means that she's going to hurt Lydia, to hurt Alpha. I think that's out of character for her, and I don't think that she's going to do that. I don't think it makes sense for her to go to that extent and to go to that extreme, but that's also possible. But at the end of the day, it's entirely possible for Lydia to die. Now, I don't necessarily mean for Lydia to actually die, but I do mean for something to happen where we think she's dead. And maybe the only person who knows she's not is Carol. And maybe she'll reveal that she's not dead after Alpha dies, or something like that. Maybe that's as far as Carol is gonna go, or as extreme as she's gonna go to hurt Alpha. Go after Lydia, find her, get her away from everyone else, make sure she doesn't come out and expose Carol. And Carol could even go to the extent of making it seem like she was the one that killed Lydia, or something along those lines. Now, the next clue that we have is something that was in one of the recent teasers. A pretty cool and interesting dialogue / speech from Alpha. And she says it in a eerie kind of tone, in a whispering tone. She says, "Do you see beyond the darkness into the light? You will. It is beautiful, pure. I will meet you there." That's pretty interesting, and to me, this sounds like a conversation Alpha's having with someone as she's dying. If you think of the concept of dying, you see darkness and then you move into the light, means you basically go through the portal to the other side in a way. So I think that's pretty much what Alpha is referring to here. So I think these are her last words before she dies. And I think it makes the most sense for her to be saying this to Lydia. I don't think she'll have this type of conversation as she's dying with someone like Beta. I mean, she could, but I think it'll be more impactful if she's having this conversation with Lydia. Or it could be a conversation that Alpha's having with Lydia before having to kill her. Now, where does Negan come in? Why do I have a picture of Negan? Well, that gets back to the conversation about who's gonna kill Alpha and whether Alpha's gonna even die or not. Now, that's a different conversation, like I said, but I think how Negan is gonna fit into this discussion is through his connection to Lydia. I think whatever happens to Lydia is going to be what's going to make Negan decide which side he's going to be on. If something happens to Lydia, and if Alpha is the reason behind why Lydia died, then Negan is obviously not going to play along the same game, and he's going to switch sides, and he's basically going to put everything on the table and not really have a secret mission sort of thing. But if something happens to Lydia, or if Negan thinks something happens to Lydia, and the survivors are to blame, then we could see a shift, and we could see the opposite of that. So I think that's interesting as well, and that could make the story more complex and more interesting. Now, if it is in fact Alpha who has to kill Lydia because she doesn't want Lydia to expose her lies, then that could also make things interesting as well. Now, as far as Lydia's character is concerned, she doesn't really have a comic story anymore. She served her purpose, and if she does in fact die, it doesn't really impact the story too much. It does a little bit, but not too much. If anything, it makes previous storylines less significant, but it doesn't really impact future stories. But if it does happen, and if it is in fact Alpha that does kill her, then it could be extremely important. Kind of pushes the story towards that end game, as far as the Whispers are concerned, where Alpha is going to be defeated and the survivors are going to get the upper hand and win. And Negan could play a role in that story as well, like I said. But with all of that said, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below about everything that we just discussed. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video. If you like what you see, press like, subscribe for more content, and press the bell button to receive notifications for daily uploads.